Hello everyone. This is Nevernan, and today we have a more standard video, not like the rant I posted last week, but although that rant seemed to do pretty well, and you guys seem to respond pretty positively to it, so maybe I'll do another one of those sometime later, because there's a lot of things I could rant about with competitive Pokemon, but none as passionate as Hatteran, I believe. But yeah. Aside from that, today we'll be talking about Brute Bonnet, or a Brute Bonnet team that I've been working on, and the reason I decided to give Brute Bonnet a try on Grass, because Grass is a type that I've been trying to use a little bit more, because I think this type might be the type that can help me get to 1600s if I work on it hard enough. Psychic has been proven to work to the 1600s as well, but I recently had a conversation with not only Wafflecopter, but also Eternal, or Ethereal Sword, and we came to the conclusion that even if we're really good with specific teams, in Monotype specifically, we usually only perform well on the teams that we usually make. So even if I did use a team that's been proven to work in higher elos, I can't pilot that team as well as the person who made it, if that makes sense. So rather, instead of using a team that someone else made, I should use a team that I myself make, and the teams that I've made so far have only gotten me up to... Well, actually, no, I did get to 1600s with the Psychic once, and then I did it with Fighting again, but that is just to say that I need to make my own team. And right now, Psychic, I'm not really able to get it to work as much as I wanted to, because currently I can only use the Cheese variant, as a lot of people are running Ghost and a lot of other annoying matchups for Psychic to deal with, especially in the lower ladder, which is very annoying because that is most of the people that you will get, especially at certain times. So yeah, it's really hard to get Psychic to work. So I've been trying to use Grass instead, because I feel like Grass actually does have a lot of powerful Pokemon that aren't really talked about that much. Like, for example, Abomasnow being one of the best switch-ins to Ice for the type, but you have to choose whether or not you want to be specially or physically defensive. You can't really have both. And trust me, I've tried to calc it before to see if I could do both, but there's nothing really. You have to go either max one, max or the other, without it being somewhat suboptimal for either role. There's no optimal mixed variant that you can really go for without missing out on living certain things. But yeah. Abomasnow is a really good ice switch-in, and I just want to talk about this team that I've been making, because I think Abomasnow is probably the best way that I can get to the higher MMR, or not MMRs, but higher ELOs, or higher ELO ranges. And I also believe that I'll also be doing it for Cornerstone as well, so let me just talk about this team real quick. So, this team is centered around two unusual Pokemon, one being Abomasnow and the other being Brute Bonnet. So, Brute Bonnet came to me because there was a forum post. I don't want to show the forum post right now, but there was a forum post on Smogon made by a user that basically talked about how Brute Bonnet was a slept-on mon because it's a very bulky, slow attacker, essentially, with access to Sucker Punch, which... That sounds strangely familiar. It's because Raging Bolt kinda does the same thing. But the difference between Raging Bolt and Brute Bonnet is obviously two things. One is that Brute Bonnet has a significantly worse typing, super weak to U-turn, which is a very common move, weak to Fighting, weak to Ice. It's just generally not a great typing. You do have the Psychic immunity, but the Psychic immunity doesn't really mean much unless you're up against Psy Spam, then it means a ton. But yeah, this typing just isn't really doing you a ton of favors, especially for Grass, because Grass doesn't really need a Dark type that desperately, outside of like a few specific matchups like Ghost. In which case, this is a very good typing for that specific case, but in general, it's just not that great. And the weaknesses don't really, or the strengths don't outweigh the weaknesses. So why use this mon is what I hear you asking. So the reason to use this mon is actually because it can afford to set up Sunny Day, and in conjunction with screens, it's actually one of the, and especially on this type
specifically on this team, it's actually one of the few teams that can actually afford to run Sun and not also inadvertently screw itself over with dealing with dealing with other photosynthesis mods like Flutter Main and Raging Bolt, as I mentioned before. You don't actually accidentally counter yourself with that because you also have a Bombus node to cancel the Sun at any time. Now, obviously, that's on paper. Obviously, in action, that's not what happens. You can't just turn off the Sun anytime you want. But you do have the option to, and having the option to is way better than most teams that have like a reliant Sun strategy or a mon that wants to use Sun. And that is a very unique thing for this particular team to do, not to mention that Brute Bonnet is also insanely bulky, like 111 HP and 99 defenses is really good. Like, really, really good. It's like that stat line is actually better than a lot of the walls in this game currently. So, yeah, this is actually a really good defensive stat line, and you're giving it to a bulky attacker that actually has access to priority moves. Pair that with screens, suddenly you get something that's a little bit dangerous. But yeah, Brute Bonnet, actually, and after using it for a couple of games, I can say that Brute Bonnet actually does do a lot of work in specific matchups. The Ghost matchup, as I said before, is a really good one, because it sucker punches pretty much the entirety of the roster, and it's really hard for Ghost to really make any progress once this thing is on the field, which is very rare, and due to its Dark typing, Sableye can't do any of its nonsense to it either. So that's really, really helpful. And yeah, it's just really solid against those types. But the issue with Brute Bonnet and why it probably hasn't been picked up more is because of its, well, not only because of its typing, but its move pool is also a classic case of 4 MSS, which is 4 Boost Slot Syndrome. And this essentially means that you have a ton of moves that you want to use, but you can't use all of them, is the issue. So, for example, you would really like to have close combat because it's specifically stronger against the very common Dark type that is in this game. You want to be able to deal with Hisuian Samurai, you want to be able to KO stuff like Roaring Moon if you run into it. You want to KO stuff like what's another Dark type? Greninja, Meowscarada, if you run into those as well. Even though they have Protean, so they probably will live with that, but regardless, Darkrai's is probably also a good example, but yeah, you want to be able to KO those things really fast, and C-Bomb can't really do that. Close Combat can, though, but unfortunately, if you run Close Combat, you miss out on Stomping Tantrum, which is very good against Fire, which is a type that you really want to be good against. And Fire types are typically very annoying for Grass to deal with, obviously. So Brute Bonnet obviously wants to have ways to deal with that as well. But you could also, but maybe you also want some stuff that can help you against slower teams. So you might want to use like Taunt, or you might want to use Synthesis to help you heal a bunch. But then you lose out on a coverage move, and yeah, it's really bad. So this mon does have a ton of moves that it wants to use, but it just can't run all of them at the same time. And also have Sunny Day, because you could have someone else set Sunny Day, but I personally believe on this specific team, we do not have space to run Whimsicott to put up the sun. And then at that point, I can't really afford to use Bombus Snow, and the entire point of me running Grass is to use a Bombus Snow, because I feel like Bombus Snow is the mod that can help me get up there. And I don't think a Whimsicott Sungrass team is really going to help me that much. Especially with the issues I mentioned before with running Sun on ladder, where you can just actively mess yourself up because of all the photosynthesis mons that are just running around on random types, and them just casually getting buzzed because of your own strategy. So it's a problem with Fire, and it's a problem with Grass as a whole as well. So I didn't want to use a team like that, and that's why I wanted to use this, because I thought that this would be a good combo. And so far, I haven't been able to get the combo to work as well as I want to, but you can't build Rome in a day. It will take me time to get used to this team, because it is very non-standard. But yeah. But yeah, that's Brute Bonnet for this team. I accidentally ended up just giving a full overview of what Brute Bonnet's purpose on the team is supposed to be. But yeah, that is what this thing is on the team for. It's basically a powerful wall breaker with the photosynthesis boost, which is 500 attack. which is not bad. It's not the greatest. It's not a wall breaker, if anything, because it does have low-powered stabs, with Seed Bomb being its best grass move, which is unideal. But we do have the option to potentially run Loaded Dice Bullet Seed, which could increase that base power up to 100 to 125, which could be a huge boon. But it also does come with the issue of being slightly item reliant, and not having heavy duty boots in this metagame is also pretty brutal, so especially for a bulky slow mon like this that wants to constantly switch in and try and use its bulkiness, if it doesn't have boots it won't be able to do it as much as it wants. So that's unideal. But yeah, this set that I have currently, it's still getting switched around because I flip between Close Combat and Stomping Tantrum all the time. Stomping Tantrum actually has really good synergy with Sucker Punch, because now if you lose to Sucker Punch 50-50 and they use a passive move against you, you now have a 150 base power Earthquake, essentially. Well, it's a better Earthquake. It's like a stab Earthquake, essentially, which is really strong. It is very strong, and having access to that kind of combo, especially against something like Raging Bolt, is really good. So yeah. This mod does have a lot of potential. I do see the potential. I don't think it's a C rank worthy, personally. I definitely think it is D rank worthy, though, after using it for a bit. This definitely shouldn't be like an unranked mod. It definitely has a purpose, and it definitely does it well. Because Zarude definitely cannot do what this mod does, due to Zarude notably also, I think it might have Sucker Punch, but I don't 100% know. But even if it did have Sucker Punch, it doesn't do it as well as Brute Bonnet, because Brute Bonnet just kind of has the better attack stat for certain. He has the better attack stat and a slightly better ability for it too, because it can at least boost itself instantly with Sunny Day and also come with all the benefits of Sun. So yeah, that is it for Brute Bonnet. I'll talk about the rest of the mods as well. So you might be asking, well, if you're going to set Sun with Brute Bonnet, why not just use Ogrepaw and Hearthflame? Because Hearthflame in Sun has been proven to be super brutal on types like Fire. Why not use Hearthflame? And the answer to that is mainly flying. I wanted a mod that could help me deal with flying a bit more immediately, because even though I have a Bomb Snow is just too slow to really be that big of a threat, and it also just isn't strong enough to be big enough of a threat to flying teams, because the only thing it's really threatening is Glasgow and Landers, and those guys can just easily switch to either Articuno or Corviknight, and they can just take hits relatively fine. So, and that would mean I'd have to work to get those mods out of the field, and that's really difficult with my grass team, because my grass team doesn't really have strong matchups into those mons. Well, actually, if I used Hearthflame, they would have a strong matchup into those mons, but I also want to be able to switch into flying moves without losing everything. And I also find that Sturdy is also a lot more useful, even though I don't have any hazard removal on this team. But yeah, I'm still fiddling around with the set. I'm thinking of maybe making it a lead. I'm thinking of maybe giving it spikes instead of Trailblaze or something like that. And or I can maybe add Bramblecast over one of the mons I have right now. But yeah, currently I believe this mod is a lot better for flying, because you'll see flying a lot more at the higher elos, so I want to be prepped for that. I could use Ogrepaw Hearthflame, but currently I believe Cornerstone has been serving me a lot better, especially since it also does pretty decently against fire, which is a brutal matchup for this type to deal with as well. Paired with getting rid of Sun really easily with Abomasnow and the screens, I personally think that I prefer using this Ogrepaw Cornerstone for current ladder right now. Next we have Superior. Superior is actually just here to basically be as annoying as possible. It's a very good support mon. Glare just slows down a lot of threats and allows you to get more screen opportunities with either Abomasnow, or it can help your Ogrepaw outspeed one of those Scarf threats that threatens your team. Since this team has very lackluster speed control, this basically is your speed control. And it's pretty good at its job. It's very bulky. Glare Leech Seed is very good combo. And it can just get one Glare off and die, and it would still be incredibly useful for the rest of the team. So Superior is just a really useful mod in general. I think it's kind of slept on. But yeah, it's hard to fit. But when you can fit it, it does a really good job just making a team work together. So yeah. Torterra, very standard set. Torterra is just super strong after a Shell Smash, and pair that with screens, yeah, it's pretty good. And then the last mon we have is Sinistra, which is also another mon paired with screens. This is very similar to my previous grass team, or my other grass team that I was using. It's just that I used Cornerstone instead, and I also used Brute Bonnet over a fighting type. And yeah, that would be my team. It's not perfect. I do think there may be things that need to be adjusted. Like maybe I need to have hazard removal, and I'll have to put Bramblegast over one of these mons. But I really want to have Sinistra for the heat proof, because having that fire neutrality is incredibly useful. So I definitely want to have that. There's potential that I could maybe put Wellspring on this team instead. So that way I can Giga Threaten Fire still, while also guaranteeing matchups against ground and a bunch of other stuff, as well as rock. And it also allows me to fit Bramblegast as well, since you can just deal with it a lot better, or you can deal with the fire hits a little bit better, or a fire type matchup in general a lot better. But yeah, that's probably. There's a lot of stuff I need to still consider and figure out. But with that being said, I do believe that the current team I have is pretty decent. I have a couple of replays with it as well, so let's take a look at those. Oh, this is a spoiler, but yeah, I do win this game. But this is against a relatively normal team. So I Trailblaze, trying to basically proc the Terra Shell. That will actually be a useful switch later, but I do get the Ivy Cudgel. I think the crit matters there. Not 100% sure, but I do have a higher crit chance, so it's not as bad as it seems. So I put in Sinistra to Terrapagos, thinking it would use Terra Starstorm. It instead used Ice Beam, which makes sense. So I go into my especially defensive Abomasnow. Fu puts up Aura Veil. I thought that maybe he was bluffing and it would actually be Hisuian Zoroark. It was not, it was actually Blissey, and he gets the rocks up for free. Body First does very little damage, so I end up going into Torterra. Since Torterra is immune to Thunder Wave and doesn't really care that much about Seismic Toss, as you can see. So Torterra gets a free Shell Smash off, and I get to Bullet Seed away their Ursaluna, getting rid of a big threat. But now here comes... oh no, it's actually not Ditto yet, it's Terrapagos that comes in. Terrapagos takes a lot of damage, and yes, this is a real interaction. Terra Shell does not work exactly like multi-scale, it actually blocks multi-hits. So, and I knew that before doing that, I was still making the same play anyway, but yeah. Anyway, here comes Brute Bonnet, and with the screens, I took Ice Beam like a champ. And I was able to Sucker Punch the Terrapagos to death. Now here comes Ditto. I'm afraid because Brute Bonnet currently has close combat, so I could get O-Code. So, and I also am really confused because I don't know if Ditto actually gets the photosynthesis boost from the sun. It didn't look like it got it, but I was not sure. And I wasn't sure how to calc it, so I just assumed, like, okay, I'll just get rid of the sun, and I put in Abomasnow. But yeah, I use Glare. Glare is going to be useful against Blissey because Blissey does not like being paralyzed. A substitute comes through. I keep subbing because even though I know I could just press Leech Seed and make up all my HP, I just don't want to get paralyzed on my superior. But yeah, as it turns out, he just keeps he swaps out into Ditto. Or not Ditto, he swaps it into Hisuian Zoroark. I know I'm faster than Hisuian Zoroark, so I glare them instead of using Leaf Storm, because I didn't think Leaf Storm would kill. And this gives me the opportunity to get Brute Bonnet in. Now that the sun isn't up, I'm a little more confident in taking the close combat, and it still does a lot of damage, but I do survive. Because I know that Ditto doesn't have the same HP as me, so I can actually afford to do that. And once he comes in, I am faster due to my speed investment, which I actually forgot to talk about my speed investment. I have that speed to outspeed specifically Klefki and all the mons in that tier, because a lot of those mons are actually typically really annoying to not outspeed, so it's just kind of handy, although I might end up going full HP because having more HP is actually probably more useful. But I do think I need to outspeed some stuff, because some stuff would be very nice to outspeed. Klefki is definitely a good one to outspeed though. But yeah, that is how that match went. And yeah, as you can see, my account is still not doing too hot. But next we have... no, this is not what I thought it was. So yeah, we'll go to this replay. Wait a minute. No, that's the private one. We'll go to this replay, which I don't think I win this one. Oh no, I guess I think so. Yeah, sorry for the unprofessionalism there, but yeah, there was another match I did have, but I wasn't able to get it recorded for some reason. But it was against Ghost, and it really showcased how good Bonnet was capable of dealing with the Ghost matchup. I might be able to still get it recorded, but yeah. Anyway, right here we see Superior being useful already, getting the glare off on Dragapult. And Dragapult has Infiltrator, so it is going to do a lot of damage to me through my substitute with Flamethrower. He also knocked off my Light Blade, which is unideal. Dragapult will go for the Flamethrower again on my Sinistcha. The Sinistcha takes half damage from it and gets the KO thanks to Leech Seed. Here comes Roaring Moon. I tried to take the knockoff, but I probably should have just went to Palm Stone instead, since he was already knocked off. Archaludon comes in. Oh, I also thought the Roaring Moon would use Dragon Dance, but that didn't end up happening. But yeah, here comes the comes Torterra. Torterra, you can just Shell Smash for free in front of the Archaludon due to screens. I get the KO with Headlong Rush, but I do get -1 speed, which is unideal. But this guy does give up because I think he thinks that Torterra outspeeds his well, he definitely lost a lot, but I think the game is definitely still winnable if he uses Salamence. But I don't know what that Salamence was, so I don't know. But yeah, that is a decent replay against Dragon. Dragon is a somewhat difficult matchup to deal with sometimes, but this was not one of those times, thankfully. Because him having Raging Bolt actually makes the game a lot easier for me, because Torterra is immune to Thunderclap, so you don't have to play any 50-50s with that. But yeah, that's it for replay, sadly. I'll pause the video real quick and see if I can get the other one working though. Yeah, unfortunately the replay is lost, sadly. But yeah, that would be it for my team. And yeah, that will be it. But please do let me know if you guys want more of the rant videos. I do enjoy talking about competitive Pokemon, even the stuff that drives me insane with it. But let me know in the comments of this video if you guys want more rant videos. Otherwise, I'm going to continue with my regular stream of content. That one video was supposed to be a one-off, but it did perform very well. So please let me know in the comments if you guys want more rant videos. Otherwise, we will continue with the current content stream. But that will be it for this video. I wish you all a great week and have a good one.